Hello, and welcome. Welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach podcast. And I am here with yet another high demand coach. It is the one, the only David Roche, who's a professional executive coach and mentor at Grey Area Coaching. And he works with first-time CEOs across many sectors. Now, passionately empowering the first-time CEOs in his new book, Become a Successful First-Time CEO, David has distilled decades of hands-on business leadership and coaching expertise into an accessible and strategic guide for those looking to thrive in the C-suite. David is the chair of the London Book Fair and the writing agency New Writing North. David was previously CEO of Borders in Books, product director at Waterstones and HMV, and group sales and marketing director at HarperCollins Publishing. I think we all know who just about all of those folks are. What a pedigree. David, what a book. I mean, I get the opportunity to see lots of books by lots of business coaches, and every once in a while, one just like, it just hits. And I really feel like that you've done that with this book. Because being a first-time CEO is such a big challenge, whether you're doing it in the corporate space or whether you're a founder becoming that CEO over time, it's a big challenge. And so I want to kind of start, if you will, with our founders, because we've got lots of folks who are listening in the entrepreneurial space. And how would you describe the journey from founder to CEO for them?
That's a great question. I think, first of all, thanks very much for having me as a guest on your podcast. I'm a big fan. There's sort of two ways that people become a CEO for the first time. Yeah, in corporate life, and a lot of the books aimed at people who are sort of suddenly thrown into the deep end and think that everything that they've done before means that they're the right choice and they're ready, and then they realize, oh my God, it's so different having that lonely at the top role.
Yeah,
and then it's very sudden immersion. Founders take a very different course. Everyone knows that analogy of frogs sitting in water that goes up to boiling point, and they don't jump out because it's all there's no sudden impact. They get used to it and until it's too late. I think founders have more of that sort of journey, and we all know founders who possibly should have handed their business over at a certain point to someone to manage on a day-to-day basis or to run in total, and how founders realize that critical point that the team is now of a size that and complexity that it requires either different skills from themselves or and their jobs changed fundamentally from maybe business development to actually managing the team and developing them is difficult. There's no one size fits all. The book is very much about the key relationships that a CEO needs, irrespective of which direction they come from, with their key contacts, both within the company, managing up to the shareholders and board, to external as well through the media and partnerships and so on and so forth. And I think that there's no right and wrong answer with relationships. It all depends on who's sitting on the other side of the table, but also whether their circumstances, what their circumstances are like today compared with how they were a month ago. You might get a different answer. So the book was described to me by the editor as not a how-to book with bullet points on answers, but a why-to book. As under the circumstances, these are the things to consider when you're dealing with people and trying to build those relationships.
Yeah. So as CEO, regardless of how we got there, I've found that there's almost this universal pressure that we think everyone's expecting me to have all the right answers, right? Everyone's expecting me to know what to do. But I have found personally in my being a CEO, training my successor to take over after me, and now coaching CEOs, that's not really the case. Like, your job as CEO is not to make all the right decisions. I've found that it's to build a team that's capable of making the right decisions. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think succession planning is is a really interesting area. And I think the book is probably as much for those planning succession as it is for those stepping into the role, because it's the transition that is often the difficulty. I think McKinsey quoted recently that I think Standard & Poor's top 1,500 companies lose $1 trillion every year on the basis of poorly managed transitions from C-suite and CEO appointments. So, this is a prevalent issue that is everywhere. And the other thing I think within succession is that's interesting is not only for the people who are managing that and trying to develop people, but actually from those who are keen to develop their own skills and put themselves in a position to be appointed. Because when it comes to the interview for CEOs, chances are most of the people on the shortlist can do the job. And the key question to me is not can you do the job, is can you be trusted to do the job? And so anyone certainly going through the internal process of climbing up the ladder, there's a lot you can do to actually develop that trust so that it makes it easier to be given the job. And the succession plan is a key part of that. Everyone talks about, building teams is getting the best people around you. If they're better than you, great. And there's that whole argument between specialists and generalists. That's an interesting one. But I think a lot of people don't understand that developing your own successor is a real key point to enabling your future to succeed into the CEO's role. Because if it's 50-50 choice between you who are doing a fantastic job with an amazing department and contributing brilliantly to the company, and an outsider who is probably equally as talented potentially, and they go, well, actually, let's take the outsider because we can't risk you leaving your department because you're too important. If you develop your own successor, then that becomes a very different conversation.
Yeah, that's so true. So one of the things that that really surprised me about becoming a CEO, and then I realized was nearly universal, was how much it made me question who I was. Like, who am I? Or like, what do I actually bring to the table, right? I think a lot of folks, they get to the top and they feel very exposed. And in your book, I think you came across the same thing, saying 70% of leaders doubt their abilities.
Yeah.
Why is it that imposter syndrome is such a big deal for CEOs?
It's really interesting. I think I think there's another way of asking that question, which is, who are these 20% or 30% who don't have any doubts? We had a prime minister in the UK called Liz Truss who lasted 49 days, who seemed to have all the answers and didn't need and sacked anyone who had been around with a lot of experience and nearly wrecked the economy with it. And no doubts at all. And it's that Dunning-Kruger effect where you have overconfidence because you know nothing about the subject, how difficult it is. And I think when you're thrown into the CEO role, you suddenly go, "Oh my God, this is totally different." But an interesting, there's an article in one of the newspapers in the UK, Guardian, this morning about saying the baby boomer generation are the generation of overconfidence. And actually, it's a very different ratio for people coming through now, Gen Z and above. I don't know. I think it's perfectly natural to have a level of, and even it's occasional imposter syndrome. I think to me, it's natural. I think the problem is that what you do as a result, unless you do have a coach and mentor who can help you through with this, is you will go the opposite way. As you said, I need to have all the answers instead of, actually, I need to have the best questions, and I need to build a team and involve them. So there's a powerful community around the strategy. But if you tend to put on this armor that says, "Hey, I don't want to show any weakness. I don't want anyone to worry about the decisions that to appoint me. My boss, the chair, the board, they don't want me to come in and look weak. And the team that that are reporting into me, who may well have one person who's sitting there going, I should have got the job of CEO as well. That armor has two things. One, it means that you are not the person you want to be. And I think one question every CEO should ask themselves is, hang on, am I going to be the CEO that I am? And therefore there's going to be no pretending or whatever. And I'm going to be comfortable with that. Or am I going to be the CEO that I think, that's what I think a CEO looks like. So I better be like that. So you don this armor. The problem with the armor is it makes you look supremely confident. So everyone backs off and goes, that person doesn't want any help. That person doesn't want any advice. They're so confident. And so it sort of doubles down on itself and can become very self-predicting, if you like.
Yeah, it's so true. So I want to shift our attention here kind of fully into this idea of succession and planning for it. We've got a lot of founders who were CEOs, very effective. They're looking at, okay, what's the next stage of my, I can't do this forever. What's this going to look like? But you've got a pretty alarming statistic that 40% of CEO appointments fail in their first 18 months. Why is that? And how should we be thinking differently about CEO succession to improve that rate?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why that might be, but research that I dug into tends to say that it's down to that transition that I mentioned earlier, and that the focus has been on the selection process. We need to get the right person. We need to get the right person. Right, job done. We've got the right person. Transition is very different to to a planned induction. Which is right. 6 o'clock, you're going to be meeting with so and so. 8 o'clock with so and so, and so on. It's much more about not only transition, but is about what issues you might face culturally and so on and so forth. The legacy that the previous CEOs left and the culture that's imprinted onto the company. It's also about preparing the team, the senior leadership team, for a new leader to come in as well, because they may be a different. Why is that? Why have this person been chosen by the board? That's what the senior leadership team are going to be wanting to know. I had one CEO I coached who said, you know what, he suffered from imposter syndrome. He said, you know what I really would have liked is that the board who appointed me to actually give me a one-pager that I could keep on day one, which said, these are all the reasons why we appointed you. You're a great blah, 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 blah. And I would have dug that out of the drawer on a daily basis and looked at it and gone, yeah, actually, I do have all those things. And therefore, it's a valid appointment. I'm not sure certain boards I've worked with would want to have that down in writing when they were looking to appraise the person after 3 months or whatever. But there you go. But I do think that transition is probably the key, because most of the reasons, when you dig into the data, most of the reasons for the exit of the CEO is to down to relationships with the key people, that they haven't built that trust relationship with the chair, with the board. They haven't got the team on board, and that's why the book focuses on relationships. I think that's key in everything, and actually it's key in life. You see people who are incredibly skilled at it, and they make it look so easy. Down from properly listening and actually valuing people's input and ideas to allocating praise where it's due, not taking credit for other people's ideas, so on and so forth. It's not that difficult, and I guess like anything else with a coach, it's very easy or it's much easier to see the answer to other people's problems, and it's very difficult to see your own, and that's what coaching is there for. But I think it applies very much in relationships as well. And the coach, when I've been doing it, I'm sitting there going, hang on, but you've got a very difficult relationship with your chair, blah, blah, blah. And talk to me about that. And actually, as a coach, you end up acting like some sort of adapter, communications adapter, like a plug adapter, that's sitting there going, hang on, you're saying this, he's hearing something else.
Right.
and the frequency of your meetings and your thing, and the level of detail you're going to needs to adapt, because he's that sort of person, she's that sort of person who likes to work in this way. And actually, sometimes they don't change the way they operate the company or do their work, but they dramatically change the relationship just on that basis.
Yeah, that's so true. So, David, I've got a question for you. I like to ask all my guests, and it is this: what is the biggest secret that you wish wasn't a secret at all? What's that one thing you wish everybody watching and listening?
Okay. I guess, I mean, I believe passionately that every first-time CEO should have a coach, professional and independent, most importantly, coach and mentor, because I think that it just boosts the chance of success. And why would everyone want to have that chance of success? But I guess I concentrate on first-time CEOs because it's a niche that I really enjoy doing, and it made the most difference to me when I first had a coach. But actually, that sort of misconception that coaching and mentoring is for people at the beginning of their journey, and they only, I'm too good. I've been around too long. I'm too good. I don't need coaching and mentoring. And you see it in, I don't know, sports stars, the people who are the greatest of all time and what they're doing, the Federers and Djokovic's and Tiger Woods, these sort of people, they understand that they need a coach and a mentor and someone in their corner. That unconditional support, which is focused on you and you alone, is it's critical. And so I guess my secret that I'd like to that I like to dispel is that coaching and mentoring is only for people at the beginning of their journey.
Yeah. It's I would argue it's more effective, right? For those who are doing well, you can accelerate even faster. So David, you talk a lot about relationships in the book. We really didn't have the time to explore that here further. We just scratched the surface of the surface. Anyone who's a first-time CEO who's thinking about placing a CEO who could use more help in this space, how can they get a copy of your book, and where can they find more about your coaching services?
Blatant plug. Here it is. The book is available on Amazon, Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. I mean, it's wherever Amazon is, the book's available. Become a successful first-time CEO, and Roche is ROCHE, and Roche as in coach. So that's easy to remember. And my website is www.greyareacoaching.com. But Grey is spelt in the UK English way with Grey, not Gray as you would have in the States.
Fantastic. Well, David, thank you so much for being on. I told you before we hit record, but I just want to thank you for writing this book. There's a lot of people who need it. It's been missing for far too long, and it's phenomenal.
Can I just say the best guy? I'm not a big fan of business books and that are 300 pages long and have a million bullets. This is full of stories and anecdotes. And the best comment I had from someone who read it is said, not many business books can pull off being a genuine page turner. So that was the best compliment I could possibly get.
So true. Well, David, thanks for being on. I really appreciate it. For those of you watching and listening today, your time and attention mean the world to us. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I know I did, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.